So as we're getting prepped here, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself, drakodan, which I'm sure everyone already knows who you are, but might as well go ahead and do it as I'm getting set up here.
Yeah, so if anyone doesn't know me, hello, I'm drakodan, and I'll be running this game for you, Sparkster. I believe last time I did this game at Distant Star, I just did easy mode, which is quite a short category, but this time we'll be doing normal, which is not the full game, strictly speaking, but it's the default category of the game that plays most of the game stages. And I've also got with me Ford, who you saw earlier with Borderlands, playing with Dai, which was a really great run, by the way. And you'll be joining me for commentary. You want to say hi, Ford?
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hey, there we go. Alright, so I'm just going to do a quick hard reset just to, make sure game's in factory state. And default difficulty should be selected on normal, so that's that. And I'm pretty much just ready to go whenever you want me to.
Okay, so before we get started, I just wanted to go ahead and just give a shout out to you again. I actually made a donation during the AGDQ, and that was going to be it was at the time in honor of my uncle that was dealing with cancer, and unfortunately, a couple of months ago he actually passed and lost his battle with cancer. So for me, this run means a lot to me, and I'm actually so glad to see it back, and I definitely want to go ahead and do the same thing again. I want to go ahead and donate to this run, or not donate, honor him by sorry, I'm getting a little choked up talking about my uncle. He really meant a lot to me. But with that being said, thank you very much, drakodan, for being here again. And are you ready to go?
Yeah, certainly. I am very sorry to hear about that, and that being said, I guess I will dedicate this run to your uncle. So I'm going to make this a good one.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I was getting a little choked up, so, you know how emotions go. They throw you up. Alright, so, are you ready for the countdown?
Yes, do give me just a countdown whenever you want.
Alright, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Alright,
so welcome guys, this is Sparkster, a SNES platformer which you will probably see immediately moves extremely quickly at this game. So the main form of movement we have in the game is the rocket boost, which we're going to be exploiting as much as possible, which is charged with the attack button, and when we can't rocket boost, we are going to be using the rolling attack, as it is faster than walking. The rolling attack is also used for combat, as you can see here already on this mini-boss. While the rolling attack is a very useful utility, I can't spam it as hard as I want, because there is a hidden mechanic in this game called exhaustion, where if you rolling attack too many times consecutively, you just lose control of Sparkster for about 3 seconds, which is obviously quite a significant time loss, because it can happen multiple times. So what I'm going to be doing is basically calculating where I can afford to use rolling attacks and how often I can afford to use them. And I'm going to be exploiting certain points to restore or lower my exhaustion meter, because the two ways to moderate exhaustion in this game are to either, like I said, just moderate the amount of attacks that you use, or to take damage. If you take damage in this game, it completely resets your exhaustion meter. You can generally get away with 6 rolling attacks before you get exhausted, so unless you are going absolutely ham, it's generally quite easy to keep it under control. There are just certain spots where it is tempting to use quick rolling attacks to make quicker progress. It's just something that you always need to keep a conscious eye on. And speaking of damage, it's one of the main elements of this game that you actually don't want to avoid all the damage that comes your way. Because, as you can see here, every time you complete a stage, you get a stage clear screen, and you get 2 types of score bonus. You get the level clear bonus, and you also get the life bonus. And the life bonus takes longer to count up the more life you have remaining, so I actually want to finish as many stages as possible at low health, which is convenient for damage boosting, resetting my exhaustion, because that means that it's a good excuse to take damage against bosses, and being that it resets exhaustion, we get to do a lot of damage boosting on bosses to deal damage very quickly. It's not going to apply on this stage boss, because this is one of the few bosses in the game that we want to use sword swipes on when we reach it, for reasons that we should be able to see. This is a little messy so far. But for the most part, many bosses use as much rocket boosting and roll attacking as possible to deal damage as quickly as I can. So I'll just go through this mini-boss. This is not a great pace stage 2 so far, but we'll deal with it. My health is also a little dangerous, but it should be okay. The boss can give me a lot of different attack patterns, and I basically just don't want to see the absolute worst attack patterns, because I could actually risk a death with this health, depending on what he gives me. So I also start on the left side of the screen. That is the worst start I could have gotten on the boss. So I'm having to play safe here. I could actually die here. I'm going to wait until I actually did take a death. Wow. Unbelievable. So, starting a little further back through the stage now, but we can deal with it. Deaths in this game can be fairly costly, as there aren't much in the way of checkpoints in this game, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. And I'll just be a little more careful this time. I'm already at fairly low health again. Alright, I normally wouldn't do this, but there is no health up here actually. I'm misremembering. Alright. I'm just going to have to hope for a slightly friendlier pattern. That was actually incredibly unlucky to get a pattern like that right off the bat. And I boosted towards boss too early. I have actually never been trolled by this boss this hard.
Very much a problem with Marathon RNG is that it never goes as well as it does in practice.
Yeah, and I've just been taking too many spare hits here and there. Like I did mention that a lot of damage does want to be taken where possible, but it is, as you can imagine, very easy to take too much damage, and I've just never managed to take this much damage in this stage before. But with 5 hearts, this boss should now just be a total gimme. Like, I will be actually very impressed if the boss manages to kill me from here. And of course I get a friendly start on the boss now. This could probably be a damageless fight from here, so of course I don't get that the first 2 attempts. Alright, yeah, that attack is likely to hit you on the second pass because of just the way that the movement cycles work. But yeah, so that was quite messy and I can only apologise for that, but sometimes the game just throws these things at you. So I finally get to finish explaining that starting the boss, you actually want to start at the very left hand side of the screen, because as you can see the boss comes on from the right hand side. But if you stay on the right hand side, the boss spawns off screen and it takes forever to come on screen. If you stay at the left though, it actually spawns on screen and you can boost right once you hit a certain audio cue, which means that the boss has fully loaded onto the screen. But entering into stage 3, we actually have a little bit of an auto-scroller. This auto-scroller will last for just over a minute, and it's actually better for me to do nothing during this auto-scroller because the only thing that's possibly going to happen is that I destroy enemies and cause them to respawn, which actually causes the game to lag. Another element of running this game is lag management, because this game is prone to lagging when too much is happening on screen, so you want to try and minimize the events that are happening on screen. And since these birds won't deal enough damage to me to kill me, I actually want to do completely nothing. So if there are any donations to be read, now is actually a good time for it.
Actually, not the moment, but I just want to say, again, thank you very much, guys. We are over the $600 threshold, and we actually made a lot more than we did our last event, so we actually passed that by a good margin, so thank you very much again, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for all the support so far. It's been really nice so far, honestly. We have got a couple of people in the chat like familiar-ish with this game, so Noble Boy, please do back me up that when I got into the stage 2 boss those 2 times, in the situation I was already in, the RNG that I got, there's not much I could have done about those deaths that I took. Like, sometimes that just happens in world record attempts as well, and you will lose the odd run whilst just on the stage 2 boss, because the RNG is just that bad. I have literally never seen that happen twice in a row. Granted, I did take a lot of deaths on the approach, but it's whatever. Yeah. So a small optimization I'm going to use here, getting out this mini-boss, is to stay in the middle of the screen, because if I'm at the right of the screen, I actually get bounced up slightly, which loses some frames, but I get dropped straight down there if I'm in the middle, and we also restore all of our lost life. So I told you that the life lost at the start didn't matter. And this quick descent section here, which for the final drop I've got a new approach, which I'll use here, should be quite elementary. Yeah, fairly simple. I like to do a quick rolling attack to the left there before boosting down, since if you boost down as soon as you get dropped off, you can actually get hit by one of the enemies below you, and you do want to keep all your life here because this is going to be the start of the aforementioned damage boosting on bosses. The stage 3 boss is the single biggest example of using damage boosting to go faster in the boss, since it's a robot worm that enters from the right, and we have to destroy multiple segments. On normal mode you have to destroy 5 segments specifically, which will take most of my life bar, and I should have enough life left to deal with the second phase manually. Alright, that was pretty clean. That was actually a perfect finish because he killed me as I killed him, and that is actually the optimal outcome on that boss, because if you die, you can still finish the boss off with the robot bird, and then the boss's death overrides your own death animation, so you get a life bonus of 0, which is actually optimal. So stage 4 is very execution intensive, so let's just see how this goes. Health is not too much of a factor in this stage. The boss can damage you quickly if you're careless, but with a decent understanding of what's going on, this stage is honestly quite consistent. So I want to get through that laser corridor as quickly as possible by moderating the types of attacks that I'm using. If you can deal contact damage in this game, but you never want to, because contact damage only deals 1 damage to an enemy, and your other sources of damage are the sword projectile, which deals 3 damage, the sword swipe deals 4, a rolling attack deals 5, and a rocket boost deals 6. But those laser doors, if I damage them in a certain way with 2 rolls and a rocket boost, it takes 3 hits to destroy them instead of 4. And being that that's one of the laggiest areas of the game, you do want to minimize the number of hits it takes to destroy them. So that stage was fairly clean overall, and now it is just a boost through the boss, and like full health bar is... I actually have too much health here, if you believe it. Like, I'm not going to be able to damage boost as efficiently as I would like, and I'm going to end up with... that's the exhaustion that I mentioned. So that's kind of unlucky to get that there. It means that I was actually failing to damage boost at all in that phase 1, and I was trying to, but sometimes you just get bounced around in unpredictable ways. But this is the phase that you want lots of spare health for damage boosting. And the damage that you take on this guy can be variable, because his main body deals half a heart of damage every time you hit it, but the spike arms deal a full heart. So coupling that with the fact that you can actually cause yourself to take more damage faster, that fight can get a little hairy. It's possible to take way too much damage, because a small quirk of this game is that although you have iframes every time you take damage, if you do a rocket boost, it completely cancels your iframes. So a common mistake that's easy to make, especially as a beginner, is that you will take damage and then you'll rocket boost to deal damage, and you'll immediately take damage again after exiting the rocket boost. And that killed a lot of my runs before I understood that's what was happening in various places, because I actually didn't realise that was a mechanic for a while. But if you understand it, it's quite possible to play around it and time when you're going to take damage, and it really increases your survivability. So another example of damage management there, using only rocket boosts and rolling attacks in an alternating pattern to destroy this mini-boss in 1 fewer hit. This is kind of boring now though. Alright, this health is okay. Ideally, I want to get this pyramid skip here without taking damage, though it's tricky. Just got it. Alright, and I got exhausted again by accident. Damn. I wasn't paying attention to how many rolling attacks I'd used there. But by getting that pyramid skip damageless, I was able to then restore my health to maximum, and yep, got a standard -1 HP entering the sandworm. The desert worm is one of the worst parts of this game, honestly, because this guy is very random, and he can deal damage very quickly. He's given me a good pattern though, because the prime directive on this boss is... Wow, that was an optimal fight pretty much. The prime directive on this boss is just don't let him dig into the ground, which is completely random. And every time he does that, it's an automatic 5-second time loss, which you cannot mitigate. So I was actually quite lucky that he didn't do that there. So finally, a part of the run that went extremely clean. That was honestly quite a respectable stage 5. The mini-boss was a little slow, but like, you can't like have everything in a run. So stage 6 is pretty fun. Oh, music. It's fun to play that piano tune, and I also use it as an audio cue to line up how I play that mini-boss, so that's quite convenient. So as soon as the screen starts progressing here, I want to do a specific movement route to hopefully get through this drum section clean. just out of cycle there. Once you're out of cycle here, this is a difficult section to play well. Like, normally I follow a very static movement route there, but a little something went wrong there. I was maybe a little delayed in when I started. Also, this is a tight jump. No problem, got it. That jump is a lot tighter than it looks, and it's surprisingly important here, because this is also one of the laggiest sections in the game, and messing up that jump really does waste a lot of time. So getting through the symbol section without a problem as well. I use a little bit of a delay strategy there, where I wait for one of the symbols in front of me to rise, because if I boost too early, then I can hit it and rebound and easily get sucked into the tubes, which then transports you further back through the screen. So more than anything else, you just want to get through there without falling into any of the tubes. Also, a small positional mistake there, but I'm at full health, so I can enter the boss without grabbing these health pickups. So Axel Gear, our counterpart Black Knight, is easily one of the most dangerous enemies in the game. He has the most powerful attacks in the game, and I want to see the right attack patterns here. Nice. Very good start. Alright, that was overall a good fight. He gave me the exact start that you want to see, which is the kick attack, where he hovers in the air and then kicks towards you, because that gets him in the corner easily, and then he tends to stay there very easily. And once he's in there, you can just chain rolling attacks to the left, which does hit him when you're inside his hitbox. And since he's constantly refreshing your exhaustion, you won't get exhausted while you're doing that, and it's easily the quickest way to dispatch of him. So, very grateful that that went well. And entering stage 7, this is another auto-scroller followed by what a lot of people generally agree is the most dangerous fight in the game. The robot duel is honestly very intimidating, especially if you don't understand how it works very well. When people used to try and run this game, they used a very conservative, safe strat to try and keep him in the corner, and that wasn't very consistent, as the fight works on a couple of phases depending on his remaining HP. And in the first phase, he is entirely random and can just go berserk on you and deal a lot of damage very quickly, which if you're playing safely, the first phase lasts longer than it should, and it just increases the chances that he has to go berserk on you. So the way that I'm going to play this is exploiting a mechanic that the game does not teach you about, since this is the only part of the game where the mech's going to be used, called 1-2 punching. It's basically going to be a rock'em sock'em robots duel, where you can use left and right punches, but the damage value of the punches isn't always equal. The base damage value for a punch is 8, but the game doesn't tell you that if you do a 1-2 punch, which is, say you throw a left punch and miss it, if you immediately follow it up with a right, that right punch deals increased damage. It does a base damage of 12, and depending how close it is to the punch that you miss, it can deal up to 20 damage. And the mech has 224 HP, meaning that you can actually finish the fight in as few as 12 hits. Though that does assume optimal damage output, and that is quite hard to land consistently. But Axel's action at the start of the fight is always going to be the same, where I can bait him into the left corner and get a few hits in, and this should hopefully bypass the first phase altogether, and then if I play the second phase correctly, I can stop him from turtling and knock him straight into his desperation phase, which is when he's at low health. In phase 3, he will go berserk on you and he won't stop berserking until they're dead. That's the main reason that a lot of people used to fail this fight, because if they prolong the fight and take damage, then by the time that he reaches desperation, they simply don't have the remaining health to turn it into a damage race. But the point of this strategy is to get him there as soon as possible while I still have high health, and then I can actually afford to sit there and trade hits with him, and he'll hopefully die before I do. It sounds intimidating, and it honestly is, especially if he gives an early random berserk, but that's also an opportunity to end the fight quicker than normal, and honestly, finishing the fight quicker is more of a priority than not taking hits, because dragging the fight out is the worst thing that you can do. That's what will cause you to take more damage than anything else. So you will also notice that throughout this level I've been sitting in the top left. This is again for lag reduction, because we can survive the stage just fine by hanging out in the top left. And since it doesn't cause any lag to do so, it's actually overall the best way to play the stage, since we don't take much damage and the game doesn't slow down at all, so it's better than flying around destroying things and causing extra life frames. So we'll be entering the boss just now. If there are any donations, there's time to read off a quick one before the boss fight starts.
Good timing. So we've got a $10 donation from Dai, which we saw in Borderlands with Ford. He says, "Loving the running commentary. You've got this, Draco." So thank you very much for your donation there, Dai.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dai. And I did really like the run before. You and Ford did a good job, honestly. That's you, Ford.
Oh, it was me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright, so entering the boss now, and I will definitely concentrate on this for a bit. This is honestly quite easy to mess up, and the timing is quite precise, so I'm just going to go Zen mode for a bit. Come on. Alright, I've managed to knock him into turtling, but at least I'm able to get his arm down, which will also massively decrease his damage output, so the fight is basically done from here. Yeah. So that was a little slow since I accidentally knocked him into his defensive phase, but then that makes the fight very safe, so I can't complain too much. It is very possible to die on that boss, due to him just berserking and out-damaging you, and if you die, it's pretty much an instant 1 minute time loss. It's one of the worst deaths you can take in the run. So we're entering the final stage of the run now, stage 8. And this is more mini cycles and also some of the best 3D graphics on the SNES, in my opinion. Those missiles just look beautiful. And yes, this is a SNES game, and yeah, 3D graphics are good for the time, I think. So I'm playing this section conservatively because these missiles will kill me in one hit if they hit me. The flames on the end of the rockets won't kill me immediately, but I don't want to touch them because I want to conserve health in this stage. So instead we duck and we just boost along when we can. And okay, standard missile section. So now just progress through the stage as we can. This little mini-boss fight is pretty quick as long as I don't get accidental contact damage, because again, contact damage is bad. Alright, so I have had multiple contact damage so far, yeah. So my health's a little iffy right now. I'm down 3.5 hearts, and I've got up to 3 hearts of healing in these upcoming sections. I want to be at full health for the upcoming mini-boss. The upcoming mini-boss, the core, is easily one of the most threatening parts of the game. This is a run killer for a lot of people, so it's going to be interesting to see what I can do half a heart down. Shouldn't matter too much, but this can just be a real threat. It's also extremely laggy, so this part of the game is prone to drop a lot of your inputs, which can be a real problem. And I got it. Okay, that's an example of what I mean about accidentally taking an extra hit from boosting at the wrong time. I didn't realise that I got exhausted and I reflexively boosted, which I shouldn't have done. But with some damage management, we get through the fight just fine. It's another example of what I mean about taking damage on the right things. The blue crystals deal a heart of damage each, and the yellow rings only deal half a heart. So the plan is to damage boost on the yellow rings as much as possible. So now with some final corridors, we should hopefully be able to enter the final boss at what I call practical maximum HP. I'm currently down half a heart, but the final boss only deals damage in full heart increments, so it actually doesn't matter that I'm down half a heart. I've still got full HP as far as the boss is concerned. And looks like I am indeed going to reach it. Yep, okay, so managing to take maximum health into the final boss. This is an entirely RNG fest. The final boss just has a lot of different patterns. Some will give me a quick fight, some will give me an awkward fight, some will kill me very quickly. And I can only hope that I get a good pattern. Time is when the boss explodes, which I'll be able to tell fairly quickly if I'm on a fight that it's actually going to finish. Alright, yeah, this is fine. This fight will finish, so I will call time when it is time. Hello? Time!
So your time was 21:17. GG, man.
Alright, thank you very much. Stage 2 went about as badly as anyone could have asked for it to, but aside from that, the run was actually pretty clean. So, I mean, I easily lost over a minute on stage 2, so assuming that hadn't happened, that honestly would have been a very good run, probably a sub 20. And bearing in mind that the world record that I have is just under sub 19, I would have been fairly happy with that. So, regardless of the difficulties in stage 2, I hope it was an enjoyable run for people to watch. Certainly a lot of fun to play, and I hope it was entertaining for people.
absolutely. It was definitely an entertaining run. I'm sure a lot of our members in chat right now are definitely agreeing with that. So I went ahead and posted a link to your channel there, Draco. So if you want to give you a follow, great speedrunner, go ahead and do that. Feel free. Again, thank you very much, Draco, for being part of this marathon again. Hope to see you back again for November.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. And again, thank you, Ford, for being part of the commentary.
No problem. It was my pleasure.
And hope you're back too for next year.
Oh, of course.
Well, I mean, you know, next couple of months, but you know, you get the idea. Next event.
Yeah.
One of the two. Alright, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take another quick intermission here to get ready for some Donkey Kong 64 with Connor 75 doing 101%. So, we're not over yet, guys. We've still got some 5+ hours to go. So, if you're ready for some DK action, stay tuned and stay right here.
Good luck with the rest of the marathon, guys. I'm going to duck out now, so we'll try and stick around to see some more, and yeah, good luck with everything else. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow.
Sounds good. We'll be here for Undertale.